Hi, in this video I'm going to review the setups related to dining reservations, or one possibility of setups, and then just go through the process of making table reservations. So if we just start with the setups needed, then in the main setup there is one setting related to table reservations, and this is if you want to integrate to LS Hospitality, meaning that LS Activity will be the kind of availability engine for table reservations, and table reservation could use the web API, etc. in LS Activity, and these reservations would then go into the LS Hospitality table management. So if you are using LS Hospitality Table Management, you would set integration here on. In this demo, I'm not going to show that flow, so I'm just going to leave it as it is. There are no other settings here related to table reservations. In locations, the only thing you have to be aware of if you are having integration to LS Hospitality, then the store must be set assigned on the activity locations, so it knows to which restaurant basically the table reservation should go to. Also, you should set up the dining area profile if you're using those at the restaurant. So that in LS Hospitality you can have multiple profiles, for example, multiple areas within a restaurant. So this would then set up the profile which for that integration. Reservation types, you would have to create a reservation type dining reservations, and most likely you would want to have multiple clients within one reservation. You would want to show be able to book to multiple locations. I would set that on. We are normally only dealing with single dates when we have table reservations, and we want to see quantities, which is the number of tables, and we want to see number of persons as well, so we have those set on. That would be the reservation type. Then on the activity types, you need to create one dining activity type for dining reservations. Set the interval. In this case, I've set it to 30 minutes. I want required client. I want to be required to assign a client to a dining appointment. Posting item, you have to assign that, even though we don't normally post anything on dining reservations, since we normally don't charge for those, but you still have to have a posting item. Day duration would be single day, and then this setting here is important. Table management integration, you would set that to on if this is the table reservations that need to go then to the hospitality. You could have multiple types going, but normally you just have one activity type, that is table management. And then we have a simplified activity card or reservation page, so to speak, which you can set up here, and this is the ID you would set up there, and this would then when you open up a table or a table reservation, then you get a page that is very specific to table reservations, so you would set this number here. So this would be the only setting needed on the activity types. The interval types, you would have the 30-minute interval. If you're using those, you would set up those. And then we have a resource group. Resource group in table reservations would be the dining tables, because normally we would be reserving down to table type. That would be a very common setup where you have, you know, 2-person tables, 4-person tables, 8-person tables, etc., etc. So you would define what the possibility of table types you have, and that would be the resource group. And the resource group would normally have the type other and capacity based on fixed quantity, because we would set up fixed quantities of how many tables we have of each type of table. So quantity and activity, that's going to be the quantity we want to keep track of. That's the number of resources basically. And usage time would be just the start time. We're just keeping track of the start time. Then other settings here, basically nothing related to dining needed. But in this case, I've set up a matrix layout for dining, which is going to show me the resources for dining, basically the table types, and on these interval types. And we wanted to see it from 11 to 8 o'clock in the matrix. So we'll go through that later on. So this would be the core settings needed. And then we would need to set up the resources, which are basically the table types. So I've set up 2 resources here, a 2-persons table, and then I've set up 4-persons table as well. I've set fixed quantity to 20 of each of those. But if you take a look at what else is needed on the table, on the resource, you would be able to set up fixed quantity, but you can also set up day-specific quantities. So basically, if you have different number of these table types per weekday or down to a specific date, you can change for a specific date or generally the capacity here. And one very important thing, capabilities. When we start to set up the products, which we need to for the appointments, then we have to remember that we need on these resources to make sure they are capable of actually being reserved for that particular product. Get back to that later on. So this would be the resources. So you create 2-persons table, 4-persons, etc., etc. for the resources. And when you got that in place, then you just need products for the same thing, because when we make appointments, we are booking products. So we have to make a product presenting the resource in this case. So basically the only thing you need to do is just create a tape, give it a unique ID. You have to have it activity type dining, and we would then set up that we allow number of persons, and we would want resources required. We have to then require the resource type, which was the table type number. In this case, products to reserve 2-persons table would require the resource 2-persons table. Basically, this is only because in LS activity, when we book something, we don't book directly the resource. We book a product, and that product requires a resource. So we need this link, the product, basically to be presenting the table types in this case. So we do this on both the products. In this case, the 2-persons table requires the 2-persons resource, and the 4-persons table also requires but the 4-persons table type. So basically we just created products to present the resources, so to speak. When that is in place, we can start booking our table reservations. So in this case, I have these products which we talked about, 2-persons table or 4-persons table or whatever the table types are. And when I select that table type, we can see availability section here. It's going to show us the availability we have for each particular section or according to the intervals. So we have here how many tables we have left for that particular table type. So if I click to 4-persons table, we also we have a different availability for those. What happens next is now I can actually start to book reservations. So I'm just going to select some date here on 20th, 1 o'clock, and hit new activity. And as you remember, the product requires a client. That's why we get the list of clients. We can create a new client here as well, or just select someone from the list. And now we get the actual activity card, or the reservation card for, in this case, for table reservations. So what's going on here in this card is that we have the details of the reservation. So we have the product, which is the 4 persons product, which is gonna, if you remember, gonna reserve the 4 persons table type automatically. This is the number of tables, this is the number of persons, the client details, the time and date, and then attributes. Attributes is any kind of additional information you would want to link to this reservation, and you can set those up, and that could be basically any kind of information. And then here on the lower side we see allocated tables. We haven't allocated anything yet, so it's just blank. And here on the right side we have more details, and we have also which tables, or how many basically tables we have of each availability, or each resource type or table type in this case. So basically at this point I could just hit OK, and it would make the booking. So we see now we have 19 tables left of this or 4 persons table. And if I just open up the reservation to take a look, another look, so when I hit the OK button, it actually automatically reserved a 4 persons table here, as you can see in the allocated tables. I can also click here on tables, and I could manually assign more tables or multiple table types to this reservation. So for example, if you have a large group and you would need multiple tables for this particular reservation. But if it's a simple reservation which just requires one table type, then the product will automatically pick up that table type. On other things, we can then see the matrix. So we have a matrix view with availability as well. So there you could just see availability per table type. In this case, 2 persons and 4 persons tables, and I see the availability for each particular day. And I can just book, select a cell and book appointment from here if I need to as well. So at this point you create the reservation, and it would just go automatically to LS Hospitality Table Management if you have the integration turned on. But this concludes kind of the overview of the table reservation part. Thank you.